Hello everyone, this is Nee. I am slightly sick, so my voice is not the best. But today, this is going to be one of my most favorite video, and I can say that already because for me, this particular topic matters the most. I want to share how I continue to cultivate self-respect in my life, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it, and that's why I wanted to share some of my experiences. And I've been journaling for the longest time, and I have taken down 15 great points out of all the journals that I have written. And this will give me a chance to really share what actually also makes me confident because I believe we are constantly chasing advices on how to be confident and how to do better in certain fields and how to be charming. But I think self respect is one of the most, if not the only, but the most important and attractive quality or trait anyone can have. And if you do have that self respect in you, all the posture, the outfit really would take a back seat because this is actually the most important. First, I would love to start with number one, learning constantly and learning all the time. Now, learning doesn't always have to mean, you're constantly reading books, but it also means you're always open to understand that you are probably not quite there, and there are other people who can teach you and they can help you get better at whatever you believe. Now, it can be YouTube videos, podcasts, and books are, of course, there, but I want you to learn in a way that helps your worldview far more, especially if you're done with syllabus and everything and you're done with your school. Go outside and learn world. Next is being self aware. Now we spend so much time learning other people, learning from person what do they like, they don't like, and there are things that we want to learn about this one person so we can make them happy and we can give them exactly what they want. We can choose the gifts that will make them the happiest. But I don't think we put the same amount of efforts for ourselves. It's very important to understand you. They say that learning yourself is equivalent to learning this vast space itself. And I do think that it's very, very important and very much worth it to learn yourself and understand yourself. Being self aware makes you just, I'd say, as a whole, grounds you a lot. It helps you understand what you seek out in the world, and you get to understand what you are and what are your expectations from the world. You also get to understand how realistic your entire life is. You get to understand what you can do to make every single thing around you better that suits your perspective. Because if you don't understand yourself, you are very susceptible to everyone's influence and anyone's idea of good or better or best. You will easily adapt it, but that doesn't mean it's going to serve you. And until you learn yourself, you will never understand what will truly make you happy and how things need to be done that suit you the best. Next will be one very important point that confidence and self respect go hand in hand. A lot of time, I believe we have hyped up the word confidence so much that we don't care about anything else. And for me, it has always been self respect above confidence. I can do without confidence, I can do with less confidence every now and then because it's a learning curve, but I can never do without self respect. And I realized that continuous work towards cultivating self respect has helped me with my confidence far more than anything else has, right? Why? Because when you respect yourself and when you treat yourself a certain way, when you have stronger boundaries and you are capable to showcase it without necessarily talking about it, other people get it. Other people get this cue. Now, when you enter a room and you have to tell people that this is wrong and I don't think I deserve that, that shows clear lack of boundaries, that shows lack of self-respect because you clearly don't think that you are even worth any of the effort, but you still go out and tell people, no, I don't deserve it, because you have seen too much content on how to be confident and tell people that you don't deserve that thing. But People will understand it themselves. Once you start treating yourself with respect, you enter a room, people will know that this person is not going to take shit from me, and I need to be like this, or else I'll just better not approach. And that is the most helpful thing that can happen. It's so much better that people don't come to you than come to you and treat you bad. For me, I always make sure that anyone who cannot respect me can easily stay away, and that would be far more peaceful than anyone walking in my life, because they can clearly see that I lack self-respect, that I have clearly not treated myself well, and I clearly have not took care of myself the way I should have. So, self-respect is the easiest way to tell people to respect you and that you're confident without really sharing even a word. Next is one of the most important for me: embrace solitude and self seduction. Now, I have always been a big one for this. I have always spent a lot of time alone, understanding myself, developing without prying eyes. No one has to know what you're up to. You're just learning and you're constantly growing without anyone else's judgment of how good you're doing or how fast you're doing. When you're constantly surrounded by people who are there to see you and judge you as to where have you reached in your journey of development of any kind, I think that takes away from your touch with your own self, because now you are doing things to make others happy than yourself. And I also believe there are people dying to be in company. There are people just begging for other people to be with them. I can never wrap my head around that. I would never understand what will make you go out of your way to almost beg people to be with you. Imagine if you don't find yourself worthy of your own company, I don't see how anyone else would. And that's the easiest way to garner self respect for yourself. You just stay alone, you love yourself, spend time understanding what you're up to, reflect, journal. Even though it sounds so tacky, it has always worked for me. I will never stop journaling. I think at this point I have around 20 journals filled with random things that no one cares about. And probably I don't either. I wouldn't read them ever again. But that same ink has helped me understand myself and my perspective of the world. And I would never share that or swap that for anything in the world. Being alone is the easiest way to be at peace with yourself. And I think once you achieve level of groundedness and content with your own being, really confidence is just a byproduct. You won't have to share this. You won't have to ever ask anyone else what they feel about your opinions or your way of doing things, because you have done them yourself. You have seen yourself far too many times, and you are confident and assured as to what makes you truly happy. And you can only learn that when you are not surrounded by too many people who are constantly judging. Another very important point for me is choosing silence over unnecessary arguments. I really believe that screaming or yelling and having to go in multiple loops of argument has never served me, and I don't think it has served anyone else. But try to choose silence when you think that things are going out of your hand and you really cannot say anything that will better explain the situation. Choose silence. Also, whenever you are arguing with someone, or even if you are in a heated debate or sharing a topic, just talking about anything in general that really triggers you in any shape or form, learn to choose your words that are still respectful. Don't curse, don't say anything that will be too bitter to take back. I always have this rule of thumb with me that whenever I am arguing or saying anything bad, I make sure I say something that I actually believe in. I am not going to say things just when I'm in constant flow of emotion. I'm not going to say anything that will, you know, tether the connection I have with the front person. I try to be respectful. I try to choose words peacefully. And I would never say anything that I can't take back, because if I can't take it back, if it's too bitter to take back, then I clearly have messed up. And next point might feel like the literal opposite of the last one, because it says that have difficult conversations even when you feel it's not necessary. A lot of times we have these inner little chunks of conflicts with this front person whom you actually care about, and you choose to ignore it and ignore it until shit touches the fan. I believe it's very, very, very important to just talk things out when they are very small. They are very little, but when you talk about them, they won't feel such a big deal because they are actually just small things that made you uncomfortable, for example. But when you can talk about them, clears things out, you can go ahead and continue to love this person. But if you wait for this one little conflict to become this unspoken competition of passive aggressive contention between two of you that's constantly haunting, I think that will ruin greater relationships. There are many great relationships that go through a lot just because they don't show courage initially. Because when things turn into an argument, you are going to show that courage anyways. Better show that courage before it turns into anything. Go ahead and stand up for yourself, even when it's a little topic. If you think that someone shouldn't have said something to you, go ahead and talk about it. It's far better than doing it 3 years later and hating yourself for it. Next point is one of the most important. Again, I believe all of these points are very important because I have written so many journals on these little points. But this one says that never beg, chase, pester, or nag anyone for anything. Even though you think it's okay and possible because you are in a relationship with someone, when you beg, chase, or pester anyone or nag anyone for something, you are basically giving them remote control of your emotions and telling them to click whatever they like. And if they ended up selecting, you know what, I don't want to do it because I am an autonomous human being with free will, it will hurt you a lot, and you cannot blame them for not doing exactly what you wanted them to. Never nag. If there's something that you expect this front person to do, say it once, say it twice, depending on the situation, but not more than twice. Keep it in front of them. And if they still don't get around to do it, they don't have to be the villain of your life. They probably are busy and they are genuinely forgetful. They couldn't care less for it and they just don't want to. It's perfectly fine. Get someone else to do it or find another way around. Do it yourself. Do anything, but do not nag and don't ruin your relationship. Let people figure things out after you have clearly stated it once, twice. Don't go into this repertoire of constantly nagging. It will never serve you. Okay, next one is accept yourself while striving for improvement. Now, these days, I believe there's this trend of being obnoxiously yourself, knowing that you're not a good person or you have certain habits that don't necessarily reflect your ideal self, but still ignoring it and saying that, you know what, this is who I am and you got to deal with all of this. Okay, I have a little analogy for you. Knowing yourself is like opening that storeroom in your big, big mansion of your being, okay, which is here. Now you go to that one storeroom with so much courage that, you know what, I'm going to get to know myself and I will make sure that I do my best. And you open that storeroom and you see there are spiders, web, and dust, and everything that was in that storeroom is covered with pile of dust. Now, you choosing to improve is opening that storeroom, going ahead with a broom and cleaning it entirely and being happy with it. And the cleanup might take some time, but you still go ahead and do it. Now you obnoxiously still being yourself and telling me, well, you know what, this is who I am, accept it, or whatever, I have these shitty habits and I will continue to have these habits, is like you open that storeroom and you did nothing about it. You saw there are webs and you saw the dust and you still chose to ignore it. You saw it, kept it uncleaned, locked the door again, and went back. There's no use. Just don't open it then. Just don't open it, let it be. But if you do open the storeroom, take a broom with you. Set non negotiable values and morals. Now, these values and morals sound like such a vague set of words. What does it even mean? What does it mean to have values and morals? It simply means that you ask yourself if you identify with certain actions or not, if you feel that you belong with that action or not. When you have to take a decision, ask yourself, is this who I am? And if yes, then you go ahead and do it. It will take you just 5 extra seconds to ask yourself that, instead of just running on impulses like an animal, basically. Because animals do that. They run on impulses, they run on constant needs and desires. But you have the choice to ask yourself, is this desire really mine? Or is this desire influenced on me, or is this desire really a shadow of someone else's, probably one of my ideals that are not even that great? So I really wish that all of you understand your morals and values. What does these morals and values actually do is you are building this beautiful human being, yourself, and you're building this house, let's say, amazing house, beautiful interior, but there are no windows and doors. And these windows and doors are morals and values. And if you have nothing, you are basically inviting burglars to take away those antiques and interiors and paintings that you have spent so much time building and curating. So I really wish that every one of us sit down and think, what do we belong with? And then only go ahead and do things and take life changing decisions. Amazing. Let's move on. Cultivate a deep relationship with selected few people. For me, it always has been and always will be three people. Now, have selected people in your life who know you well, who listen to you well. Not everyone can be a ride or die. You understand that having this say that you can swap your life with front person, you really can't, right, with anyone else. So only choose people who really matter to you deeply, and these people are the ones you protect, and they protect you in return. Now, for me, as I said, three people, very important. How many are for you? You cannot say 15, and I think over five people, just dangerous. You cannot handle that many people. You cannot maintain that level of standard with these many people. Now, when I maintain very sacred relationship with very limited people, what that does is helps me understand what I seek from them and vice versa. This will give you a lot of self-respect. You have selected these few people to be a very integral part of your life, and they stand up to your standards. They are always there and they protect you. This makes you feel secure constantly. Even when you don't have thousands of friends, you have these three people in your life who are always there and who got your back. So make sure that no one's attention, no one's validation, and no one's presence overtakes the importance of these people in your life. You have to protect them at all cost, and you have to protect them over everyone else, because there will be times when you will have to make difficult choices and you'll have to choose among people, and this is the time when your values will say that you will choose among these three, and you might have to let go of others, and that day might just come. So you have to be ready with these three or however much sacred people in your life who protect you and you protect them. and it is your duty to protect them almost all the time. You have to protect their feelings above everyone else's. And even though it doesn't sound the best because you wouldn't want to hurt anyone, right? But there will be times when you cannot be everywhere for everyone. So you'll have to select a few. And that's the time when you select these few and you choose them over everything else. And this part where you are hyper loyal to some people, this gives you a lot of self respect. This makes you feel that you stand for something, that you are not just everywhere else and not just everything. Because someone who's everything is nothing, and you have to stick for something, be with someone, and practicing continuous loyalty will help you practice that loyalty in every aspect of your life, and that loyalty over your goals and you know your being will give you a lot of self-respect. Now this practice has helped me garner a lot of trust within these people whom I have selected to be super close to me, because they know that I got them and I know they got me. Next is one that really has changed me the most is understanding your wants and needs. You always need to have expectations out of every single situation you get into. Now, this applies to relationships the most, less to general things that you do. As much as people say that expectations lead to all kind of misery, but you cannot just wing it when it comes to relationships. These are places where you are investing your life in, not just your time. You're investing your life, you are investing your being with someone, and that is the time when you actually understand who is allowed. Now understanding this will change your life monumentally. We always talk about how it is very important to respect someone who's in your life and who is a part of your being, right? Whom you are in a relationship with. But we never talk about how you need to respect yourself while you are looking for one. Understand what you want and only accept that. Do not adjust when you can choose to not adjust. And if you are already adjusting, then stop talking about it because you are the one who chose it. I really believe that we should be with someone whom we see 10 years down the line being okay, struggling with you, or having difficult conversations with you. And if you don't see that, I really don't understand the intention behind still allowing them in your life. It's like there's the beautiful sacred temple, and you are just allowing anyone without them removing their footwear or taking a bath. And I don't think you would ever do that with a temple, right? Treat yourself like that. Because once they enter, they are going to leave their imprints. And I don't think we take this seriously enough, but for me, this matters a lot because those imprints are memories, and memories are going to stay with you because that's how brain works. But yes, know your wants and needs and learn how to defend them and stick with them. And if you really are dealing with someone who tells you that expectations lead to misery, you don't have to expect anything from me, I don't think it's fair to invest life in anyone like that. Genuinely, because if you cannot expect things from someone you're supposed to love, I don't think there's love, really. Because love on itself is not just a word, it's a feeling, it's an entire being in itself. And that is made up of multiple behavior and patterns and expectations as one single word. And if all of these needs aren't met, this word is slowly going to fall apart. Amazing. Next, very important one is never give up on your identity. There are some hobbies or things that you do, they are very unique to you. For example, the way you laugh, the way you smile, or the way you showcase joy. Don't try to change that to fit into a trend or peer pressure. Really, you don't have to, laugh quietly because that's how it looks the best. You don't have to change the way you show your excitement just because everyone have to look like they are mysterious being. Stop taking away the only thing that makes you human, and those are your emotions. So if there is something that you identify with, really don't need to change that to fit any narrative of any single person. Let people fall apart, because if you stick with your traits for long enough, people will come around to understand you. And here I'm not talking about bad habits. Here I'm just talking about some of your beautiful traits that make you you. Now, communication needs to be mindful. This is my last point, and I'm keeping this for the very end because this is the most important, especially for me. Now, even though there are many, many situations we all go through, there are difficulties we face almost all the time. But don't go around venting to every single person you meet. Don't go around sharing negativity. Now, this doesn't mean you can't be vulnerable. I have my fair share of vulnerable moments, and I feel that they are worth it. Super amazing to talk to someone who is ready to listen to you. But don't just do that. Don't base your personality around all the pain that you went through. I'm sorry that we go through so many things that are not good, and we would probably never wish anyone to go through them. But at the end of the day, if you are constantly sharing negativity with other people, it is limiting your value. I believe if I go around sharing just negativity and all the things that I've gone through and all the pain that I have without even giving a single smile, that just limits me as a person, that limits me as this negative ball of human being, that limits me and my values, that limits the entire potential of what I can bring to the table. It's very limiting, and I don't want to be branded as a person who is a walking negative emotion. And that won't happen if you don't share all the time. Now, it's easy to do. You can follow a 24-hour negativity rule. And this 24-hour rule suggests that you don't share anything negative that happened with you for 24 hours. Now, of course, urgent situations are different, and I'm only talking about these situations, let's say a small little thought pattern you have stuck, right? Or something someone did to you 2 years ago, and you are constantly thinking about it, and you're thinking, you know what, this is the time when I call that friend and tell her about this for the seventh time, because I happen to think about it too. Follow this rule of 24 hours. Every time I get these slight inconveniences in my life, I wait for 24 hours and see if I still actually feel that negative about it. And 90% of the time, I don't. 3 minutes later, I'm dancing in my room, so I really don't. It's very important that you understand yourself and how you cope with things. And if you never give yourself chance to stay with yourself or have your thoughts sitting in your head for some time, you will never truly understand yourself, and you're only just branding yourself and limiting your potential as a human being, or what joy you can bring to other people's life, because you do bring joy to many people's life. So let's do more of that. And this video ends here actually. This is pretty much everything that has helped me garner self respect for myself. And I continue to learn because I am a student. But I hope this helps someone.